Miami Heat Report by Chat Sports here. I am Nic Rohloff, and we have a very interesting show. Terry Rozier. We got a little bit of an update on his legal situation. I thought we were done with this, and we'll explain why we're not here in a second. And then plus, Damian Lillard to the Boston Celtics. Is that something that can actually go down and happen? We'll talk about that on today's show. We'll start with Terry Rozier because he is actually still under investigation. And if you are unaware of the situation, well, we're going to inform you because he was looked into in terms of if he is participating, or I said participated, in an illegal betting scheme. And Barry Jackson had the update here just yesterday because Shams said on the McAfee show about a month ago, like something very vague along the lines that Rozier might be like out of investigation. Well, that's not the case whatsoever. And he noted Pablo Torre reported this past week that the federal investigation of Terry Rozier remains ongoing. And there has been no charges filed. And we'll look back at what the NBA had to say almost like 4 or 5 months ago at this point. But it's so weird to me because the NBA said that they did their own investigation and found no wrongdoing. But this federal investigation continues to linger on. I don't really understand where we're going with this, but we know with the Malik Beasley situation, this is taken very, very seriously. And we will continue to have you updated on the matter, but we also put out Miami Heat content every single day. So make sure you are subscribed and make sure you have your notifications turned on. Right now, just 13% of you do, 3.1K. I know a lot of new people subscribed to the channel over the last month. So if you are one of the new people, make sure you have your notifications turned on so you never miss a piece of content we put out. But let's take it back now to January 30th, just 6 months ago, when the Wall Street Journal had the report that exclusive Terry Rozier has been investigated by federal prosecutors over whether he manipulated his performance as part of a legal sports betting scheme. And I do want to make this abundantly clear as well, if you are just finding out about this story today, this all occurred when he, or allegedly occurred, I want to make sure I rephrase that, when he was a member of the Charlotte Hornets. None of this alleged behavior took place when he was a member of the Miami Heat. And when this report came out, NBA spokesperson Mike Bass released a statement on the Terry Rozier allegations, saying that the league conducted an investigation and not find a violation of NBA rules. We are now aware of an investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York related to this. And if you have followed sports betting with the NBA and really NFL, we know that this is nothing to play with, right? You see NFL players get suspended for a lengthy period of time if they placed wagers on games not even associated with football, just in general. They can't do it on NFL property. And now you've seen it happen in the MLB with a pitcher who, by the way, that was crazy, manipulating apparently pitches, balls, and strikes. The dude was throwing them in the dirt. Now, it's not confirmed, but it's suspect out there. And now we know the Malik Beasley continues on here. So this is all very fascinating for Miami. Now, a lot of you probably are going to ask, what could happen with the Terry Rozier in Miami if he is found guilty when this inevitably comes to an end? If Rozier is found guilty, well, because of the language in contracts and how it unfolded, the last year of his deal in Miami would actually be voided, and the cap hit that Rozier currently has would actually be vacated. And I know a lot of people are going to go in the comment sections and say, you hope he's guilty. You do not want and root for someone to get federally charged with this type of stuff. So do not say that. But it is hard to deny that if this actually happened, it would benefit Miami, creating an open roster spot, and then Miami would also be freed of a $26.6 million cap charge. So it is something to keep an eye on, and it's the reason why we have to talk about it. Now, when you compare the side-by-side here, I do not think this is a Malik Beasley situation. If you've read on what's going on with Malik Beasley, well, apparently that he's in debt, and he's in cahoots with a lot of people because he owes a lot of money to people, like a dentist, a barber shop. It's just so weird. And when this original report about Terry Rozier came out, like that never happened. And I do think it's odd that this is getting brought back up into the light of the media 6 months after. Like, why do we have to continue to talk about this? And if it was something very serious like Malik Beasley's situation, well, Malik Beasley was a free agent. Maybe it was unlucky for him at the time that he was a free agent, and nobody's going to sign him now. But like Rozier is still under contract. It's not like he's getting released or anything like that. So we know Miami is trying to actively trade Terry Rozier, but there is no interest from other teams as of right now. That can all change for sure. But we know Miami has been trying to shop its $26 million cap hit, and that has simply not happened for them. We knew there was maybe a John Collins-Rozier swap in the works. That obviously didn't happen. Miami got Norman Powell in a 3-team deal that includes John Collins being traded to the Clippers. But we're going to continue to eye the Rozier situation in Miami. So predict it for me. Will the Heat trade Terry Rozier this offseason? Type T if they trade him. Type K if they keep him. And he's ultimately on the opening roster in mid to late October. I think they will ultimately trade Terry Rozier, but with the caveat that I don't think it happens before the season. I think it's going to ultimately go down sometime during the year because Miami, and we'll talk more about our cap situation in our next segment about Damian Lillard, but like the Heat need to get underneath the luxury tax. They don't need to, but we know they want to. So trading a Wiggins or a Rozier and taking back like $4 or $5 less million in salary would get that for Miami. Heck, they could even just shred $2 million. So they will try to inevitably trade Terry Rozier, even if they just want to do it to get underneath the luxury tax this season, so they avoid the repeaters tax penalty. But we know they also don't want to take on longer contracts. They want to keep that expiring money kind of too. We'll segue now to Damian Lillard. And as he could be a Boston Celtic, which would be absolutely nightmare stuff for me and I think most of you at home. Well, Brett Siegel was doing a little Q&A on Twitter and had this to say when asked about a Damian Lillard update. He said that there is no timetable for decision. Nothing has changed here. Boston remains the team I would say is number one for Dame, but followed by the Warriors, Heat, Timberwolves in no particular order. So many teams have interest in him, and I am sure Dame wouldn't mind Portland reunion at some point as well. So when you react to what Brett has to say, who I actually think has been doing an okay job this offseason, and I believe what he has to say to a degree, Miami is still interested in Damian Lillard, and we know that they are going to continue to register interest, and Damian Lillard's going to show interest in being a member of the Miami Heat because we knew that was something that he wanted to do 2 years ago, and he has an unbelievably close relationship with Bam Adebayo, and he's good friends with Norman Powell, the newest member of the Miami Heat, as well. And I think they should ramp up their pursuit for Damian Lillard. They have an open roster spot. You just simply can't let the Boston Celtics get Damian Lillard. I'm sorry, call me a hater. That's me. I got it run through my blood. I can't see Dame going to Boston. And could you imagine after all of what has transpired over the last 2 years with Lillard in Miami that he ultimately ends up going to the Celtics? That would be just disgusting. I can't allow it. We'll have more discussion here in a second. But you have to take advantage because this Miami Heat Vice hoodie is on sale. Crazy sale. Down from the normal $69 price to $35 right now when you go to chatsports.com/Vice sale. That link is in the description and comments of today's video. There is no more 2Xs. They're running out, only small through extra large, so take advantage right now and grab one today. When you go back to Damian Lillard, and I know a lot of people are going to say, no, why would we sign Dame? He's 35, going to be 36 soon, not playing this upcoming season. And if we are going to add someone to this roster, it needs to be a big man. We don't have a backup big to Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo right now, which I would all say you're completely correct. But he would be a massive boost for Miami, not this season, but the year prior. Like, this is a guy who is still an all-star caliber player. Is he an all-NBA top 15 guy in the association? No, I don't think he's that anymore, but he would still be able to greatly impact this team, provide a lot of relief offensively for a Tyler Hero if you keep Tyler with Dame past this season, and obviously having Bam Adebayo. Like, I don't think his Achilles injury, which is the reason why he's going to be out this entire year because he suffered a torn Achilles in the NBA playoffs, like I don't think it changes him. At this point, Dame is not a player that relies on athleticism to blow by you and finish around the rim at an explosive rate. When he was at his best as a number one option on a title team, yeah, he relied on athleticism, and you could watch the tape and highlights. He would get to the rim, and he would boom on people sometimes, man. He had those bunnies. I don't think that's something that he requires right now, and he's just a sharpshooter, a marksman. To me, that is something that will just continue to age right. And we've seen KD. I know it's a different type of player because he's a 7-foot like demon that can just get to any point and rise over the top of you. But these guys that just rely on craftiness and tough shot making, like I don't think need the athleticism and Achilles that could potentially be taken away from them with a torn Achilles. So I think Dame is still going to be really, really good when he comes back from a torn Achilles, and I would hate to see that happen in Boston. So be the GM. Take over Pat Riley's job. Should the Heat sign Damian Lillard? Type Y if you think they should. Type N if you think they should pass. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I would absolutely sign Damon. It's kind of my perfect plan. Like, yes, I know the tax bill would actually increase for this upcoming season because you are 1.4 mil over the luxury tax. You have about 5 million before you get to that first apron. But you should be able to get underneath it by the end of the year because we mentioned players like Andrew Wiggins. We mentioned players like Terry Rozier. The way the league's salary works is you could be a luxury tax team. You could be a first apron team right now. But as long as you get underneath that prior to the season concluding in April, then you will be fine. So you can use the big salaries to trade for smaller salaries to get underneath that specific threshold by the trade deadline. So if you sign Dame, yeah, it's not impacting you this year, but it's going to be a massive boost for you next season. You don't allow the Celtics to get him because with Tatum and Dame coming back from injury in 2026, a team of Dame, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Tatum would just simply be unfair, especially when the Celtics are probably going to have a lottery pick this upcoming draft. Like, we just can't let that happen. So for that reason alone, I would sign Damian Lillard just so Boston can't have him because it feels like it might be a cakewalk to a title the following year. That'll do it for today's show. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us here at the Heat Report. If you haven't already, follow me over on Twitter as I continue to break down Heat basketball. And if anything happens surrounding the Miami Heat, we will have you first covered on Twitter before coming here and making content. So give me a follow at Nic_Rohloff.